Welcome again to the Real Collective Podcast, the show where two realtors wear blazers and talk about the real estate market. No ties allowed. I'm Brendan McKeigan. With me, as always, is Sean Tasse. Sean, how are you, my friend?
You know, I have ties to some important things, but not around my neck. No news.
Correct.
Yeah.
No news is good news.
That's right. Speaking of good news, we've got some good news today. We've got some exciting news. This episode might drop a little bit later, probably next week. But the Bank of Canada today announced its rate as we're recording this. And for the first time in 8 years, they did not raise their rates.
We're not a podcast that has sound effects, so I'm just going to do them.
What other ones will you do?
I don't know. Depends on where they fit.
All right. I'm excited to hear them.
Yeah.
You're like that guy from Police Academy.
Yes, the very same.
Identical.
Michael Winslow.
Spitting image. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I figured we'd talk about the fact that, of course, we didn't have a rate increase, which was great news, and then what that means moving forward into the spring market.
I think it means you're going to get some people coming out of the woodwork that were maybe waiting to see what that rate increase was going to be, to see what they could afford. And now that they've seen that there wasn't anything done, they're probably, I would hope, a little more excited.
Yeah. Buyer sentiment, we've seen that creeping for the last 2 months, right? We're essentially just about to hit the spring market. I think people will wind down over the March break a little bit, but after that, it's going to be people coming back to the table, improved buyer sentiment, and we're already starting to see it. We were in an opportunity at an offer in last night, and we're one of 3 bids in for that property. So there is some interest. Buyers are picking back up. They're looking up, and this is only going to help, right? We saw the average house prices in 2022 come down by $200,000 on the residential side. And so far in 2023, we've gone up by $54,000. So $21,000 from December to January and $33,000 from January to February. So, you know, it's positive news, it's growth, and it seems like we're getting into obviously a new price point overall, but and back to some sort of stability that we used to see pre-COVID insanity.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, I almost feel like we're getting a late spring market, only because the last 2 years have had like the spring market start so early. Like last year was December. Yeah. Is when the spring market like started. It was just getting crazy, right? January, like hot off the heels, was going nuts.
Yeah.
So I think like you said, now that it's March break, the rates aren't changing, and maybe that makes some people excited and ready to go.
Yeah, I think typically we used to say that the sort of unofficial start date for the spring market was Easter, but that feels like it got pushed back a little bit. You know, that long weekend is sort of the big push where people say, well, hey, I've got some time and I'm going to start looking for a house. But every year it seems to get pushed back just a little more because people don't want to compete as much as possible. And that's, you know, the main difference that we're seeing in the competitions is we're not seeing houses selling for, you know, $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 over asking, even though there were 3 offers on the property last night. Of course, we didn't win, so I don't know. I'm not certain what the selling price is, but I don't think that it was astronomically high above what the list price is. You know, maybe $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. That's my guess in terms of what it finally will have sold for. So, you know, we're not seeing the insanity of years past. We're getting back to sort of what we were advising our clients again pre-COVID, and not the insanity that happened over the last couple of years. Now, that insanity has driven us to a whole new price point, right? Where pre-COVID, sort of the average price for a house was close to $400,000. Now we're looking at the average price for a house being close to $7,000. So yeah, we're totally in a new price bracket. The interest rates are higher, and it's harder, right? And people, I remember, you know, pre-COVID, people thought, oh, this is hard. I'm going to wait for the prices to come down before I buy a house.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I can't tell you how many people that same thing, waiting for it to come down, waiting for it to come down. And even now that prices have come down, it's
yeah.
still not below what it was,
Yeah.
a few years ago. Like, I mean, we still aren't that far from the $350 townhome, when that was like townhome 350, that sounds about right. Or
Yeah.
375 or so. And now those same townhomes, like if you were to get it for six,
Yeah.
that's incredible. Like
Yeah.
that's still an incredible price.
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
So yeah. Your famous paralysis analysis of paralysis via analysis.
analysis paralysis.
Analysis paralysis.
Yeah, there's obviously a part of me that thinks, just go and do it and figure it out afterwards. Of course, there are a lot of people who picked up variable rates at the at the peak of the market. They bought last year. They picked up a variable rate, and their payments have changed drastically over the course of the last year or so. So this is an exciting piece of information that the rates haven't gone up at all. Historically, those variable rate mortgages are always the best, and based on what we're seeing, we should expect the overnight rates to likely come down a little bit over either towards the end of this year or early next year. It all has to do with, it's strings that the government can pull, right?
Yeah.
Let's do this to help people out. Well, people are in a tough spot right now. There's a lot of people who are over spending, over leveraged. Their cash flow, their monthly cash flow is tight, and so people are having to figure out other things to do. And it's, I say people, it's for us too, right? Like things are not the same as they were a year ago.
Well, believe it or not, we're people.
What? Get out of here.
I know. Some people might not agree because we're also realtors.
I'm a robot, so there's that.
Meet more.
Yeah. So right, yeah. They've realized, the people, the generic the people who set the rules and the rates and all that sort of stuff have realized that, okay, well, it really looks like everybody seems to be pulling back because they have to. And so, okay, good, this has worked. And let's just keep the rates where they are and see what that looks like trending forward. And if it continues to be effective, then of course they're hopefully going to be pulling those rates back either towards the end of this year or early next year. Of course, it's hard to make predictions a year into the future, so we'll see when we get there. But for right now, the exciting bit is the rates didn't go up. And there was obviously a direct inverse relationship between the interest rates and the house prices. So rates haven't gone up. So house prices are likely going to stay maybe the same, maybe increase a little bit. Problem is, everything that people are referring to is the year-over-year reduction in average prices, right?
Yeah.
Versus what nobody's referring to is the month-over-month gains that we're seeing. So don't get...
Yeah, and I think that's kind of good news for both sides, right? Because you can actually sell your house. And we're getting into, depending on the type of home, like you said, maybe multiple offers, like 3 offers kind of thing. And that's not too bad to deal with. And that's not, it's still a little more balanced because I don't think its third offer is ridiculously crazy over what it's worth. I think if you're seeing 3 offers on a home, it's because it's priced that way accordingly, right? They're doing that as their marketing strategy. That's what you do. Your price is a marketing strategy. It's to get eyes on it. It's like, you throw something up at $5.99, people are like, oh wow, $5. And that's just that little marketing thing, right? So I think you're gonna see more of that. I think you're gonna see more people having prices that are very low for their home, air quotes, to try to drum up some multiple offers. And then whether or not that works, maybe you put it after that week of not getting any offers. If that's the case, you put it at what you were kind of hoping for or close to for.
Yeah. It also has to do with the price point for the homes, right? We're seeing a lot more movement in sort of the 5 to 7 range, less movement in the 7 to a million, and a lot less movement in the million plus. So it all really comes down to what you're selling and what most people are buying, right? Any man, the average buyer has between $500,000 and $700,000 to spend on a house. That's what they're going to buy. And so we're seeing the most amount of movement and the least amount of the shortest days on market in that sort of price range. And then as you increase in price, the days on market further increase. So
yeah, so I think that's a good place to take a quick break. We will let you mull that over, and then the second half, maybe we'll go over how it benefits you as a buyer, as a seller, and then maybe even as an investor. There's a lot of properties coming up, especially those that are near water. So we'll take a quick break. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the channel. That would be great on all the platforms that you know of, and we'll be right back on the Real Collective Podcast.
Did you know that there are 5 different ways that you can price your home? One of those ways is called the income approach. If you are selling a property that is used for income generation, i.e. a rental property, this is going to be the way for you. So what? Is we determine how much income your property is making, we subtract that by the costs, and we use it to get what's called an NOI. And from that NOI, we can determine what the cap rate is. And once we have an idea what the cap rate is based on the price of your home, it'll tell us whether or not it's a good investment for investors. Now what? If none of this made sense to you, you need to reach out, especially if you own a multi-unit building or a property with multiple tenants, or if you'd like to buy one like that. As always, the phone number 1-888-REAL-585, or shoot us a DM, and until then, keep it real, Collective.
Welcome back to the second half of the Real Collective Podcast, everybody. Hope you enjoyed our reels. I'm guessing that's what was there. If you want to talk to Sean and I about our reels or about anything else, our Calendly links are below. Segways! So go in there. You can talk to us, pick a time that works for you, and bingo, bango, boom. You've got an appointment with 2 of the most realtor guys in the city.
that are realtors.
I love non-descriptive terms like that. They're the most realtorist guys. Anyway, second half, we're talking about how there was no jacking up the interest rates. So what does that mean for everybody? How's that going to help? How's that going to help buyers? How's that going to help sellers? How is that going to help investors? And I think one of the first things that I've noticed, because I was taking a peek the other day, is cottages. I think there's might be some good opportunities to pick up a cottage now that rate hike has subsided. There's a lot more reasonably priced waterfront homes. There's some really good ones out there for decent prices.
Yeah, we bought ours in 2021 in I think it was in, I want to say in April. No, it was in March. We went to go look at it. It was St. Patrick's Day. So yeah, that's it's a good time to buy. The risk, of course, that you take is you don't know what the water's like unless you've got some insider information. But you're right. I think a lot of people bought cottages during COVID, driving the price up because they couldn't travel anywhere. I mean, we're guilty of it, right? You can't really go on a plane because, or I guess you could, but it just wasn't. People weren't into it as much as they are now. Whereas it seems like everybody's gone away now, right? And people are like, well, I don't really need to go away to my cottage because I don't, that's I've gone away to Florida or to wherever. And so, the demand for people to have a place to get away to that they own, I feel like is dropping off. And as a result, there might be some great opportunities for buyers in cottages. Might be a little bit tougher for people who are selling cottages. Obviously, the problem is when it's good for one set of people, it's not necessarily good for the other set of people, whatever it is that's happening, so.
No, of course, but I do think that there's still a strong market for renting out your cottage for a week, whether that's Airbnb or whatever you want to, Kijiji, I don't know, however you want to rent it out. There's still a strong market for people that want those family getaways. So maybe it is a good thing where you can pick up that cottage knowing full well that like we're really only going to be able to use this for 3 weekends and maybe a week if you're lucky, 2 weekends and a week out of the year. And then you rent it out the rest of the time, and then your mortgage is paid for the whole year.
Yeah.
On that. So I think that's one way that the interest rates might help people. I think for sellers, if we switch over to that side of things, and like the same with investment properties, I feel like that's kind of the same sort of thing, right? Like it's the rates are going to help them pick up those properties that they're looking for. And I think as a seller, I think you're going to get more buyers looking at your house, whether or not that's always good.
Yeah.
Obviously, the prices have gone down a little bit lower, but I mean, how many times have we beat the dead horse of the gap of what you're selling and what you're buying is kind of staying the same? So there is that, but I do think as a seller, the rates being where they are just kind of help you get more eyes in your home. I think if anything, maybe you had some people that are like, yeah, but with the rates, because that's what I've been hearing so much is people like, oh, I can't do it. Not with the rates the way they are.
Well, it ultimately, and we talked about this before, it ultimately comes down to payments, right? And so, sure, the price of the house has gone down, but the rates have gone up and the payments are the same. Well, now the rates are where they are and they're going to stay there. And we're also seeing the prices of the house slowly creep back up. So you kind of had your best shot in, December. And then since December, we've slowly been picking up. And as buyer sentiment continues to pick up, because a lot of these buyers are listening to what they're hearing in the news. And in the news, they're saying, hey, we're down by 18, 20% versus last year. Well, yeah, sure, that's great. But that's old news, right? We're actually up $50,000 since December this year. So the best time to buy a house, obviously, was, pre-COVID. But, if you're talking about this year, December was the best time to buy a house. Well, December's not this year. Okay, well then January, right? And as we notice buyer sentiment increase, we're starting to see more and more of these, multiple offers. I speak with a bunch of agents all the time because, we're calling, we're talking, we're negotiating. And all of the agents that I'm speaking with are all sort of noticing the same thing where it is picking up. Buyer sentiment is improving. It doesn't mean that your house is going to sell for the same number that it did last year. But if you take into account what the fair market value is for your house and you price it at fair market value, you're going to be sold quickly. The average days on market, this is something that's crazy, has actually dropped from last month. It was almost 4 months and it dropped down to under 3 months. So we're not adding enough inventory for the demand that the buyers are putting out. And this is the same problem that got us into the issue that we had going into COVID, where there was not enough inventory and there was a high buyer demand. We also had crazy low interest rates. Well, we're not going to have crazy low interest rates. We're going to have regular average, just under 5% interest rates. And that won't be the perfect storm that's going to cause the same thing that we saw, but we're going to have low supply unless everybody decides they want to put their house on the market, and the buyer demand is there. So yeah, prices necessarily will go up. They're going to look like they've gone down versus last year for the first 6 months of this year. Talked about that a whole bunch. Yeah. But towards the end of next year, like we saw, like coming out of summer and going into fall, it just felt really like dead. Like there was not a lot happening, not a lot going on, and it feels revitalized, rejuvenated. Like we're pumping back up towards something now with the spring.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I think there's more people are maybe feeling like they have a shot, when that, especially for buyer apprehensiveness. I mean, we did a whole episode on it. Where are all the buyers gone? Yeah. Where have all the buyers gone? Long time standing. I don't know the song. Clearly.
Long time ago.
Yeah. We're going to remix that, and that's going to be the next hit from the Real Collective Christmas album.
Yes. Yeah. That's next to-do list.
Well, yeah, I do think buyers are maybe getting a little bit more confident. Maybe they're getting a little bit more ready. I'm like, okay, we could do this. We can do this. We can do this. And I think that's what we're seeing is we're going to see more people coming out, especially after March break. Maybe that's what they're waiting for is some people are taking their March break to finish a renovation to sell their house or something. Who knows? But
I think we're going to have more buyers who are interested than we're going to have sellers, right? Like the main dynamic that has stopped sellers from putting their house on the market is they've got nowhere else to go, right? And so especially a lot of the people are wanting to age in place. More and more seniors are wanting to age in place, and that means that their houses aren't coming to the open market, right? And that is all having a negative effect on the number of houses that we have for sale, the inventory. And the builders have all put buildings on hold. So we're not adding new inventory into the mix either. The builders have put building on hold because the house prices went down. So we've got this perfect storm of like, there's buyers who want to buy houses and there's nothing for them to buy. And so, we're running around out there with our clients who want to buy, like, oh, well, yeah, not that one. And, when more inventory comes out, they'll buy and then they'll put their house on the market, and it'll sort of be this bit of a snowball effect. Guess it's not a snowball in the springtime, eh?
Probably not. Slush ball?
Melt ball. Tumbleweed. Nope.
That's a melt ball is just water.
It's not a ball anymore, is it?
Yeah. No, it's just slush with road salt.
Yeah. It's just a puddle. You got to rake all that road salt and rocks off your grass. That's what we've got to look forward to.
Good times.
Super good.
I'm fine with it. I feel like we did a good job sort of covering this today and what it can mean for you. I don't know. Hopefully we help somebody.
Yeah, I hope.
I'm just,
hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. If you didn't, at least I hope you were entertained.
Exactly. Listen, maybe we missed something. Maybe you have another concern about the market that we haven't touched on besides just the rates. Plop it in the comments below. Just plop it. Plop it right in there. Plop, and then we'll get to you. Or if you want to talk to us about it, our Calendly links are there, obviously. So hit those up. I think we'll wrap things up here on the Real Collective podcast. This was a wonderful time. We'll have to do more of these wearing blazers because this show was blazing. Puntastic. Listen, thank you guys for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the channel. Download us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Tell your friends about it, but only if you like it. If you don't, keep it to yourself. Nobody likes a complainer. I'm Brendan McKeigan. This is Tasse, and until the next one, keep it real.
Collective.